Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is SockBot, and today, oh my goodness, I have spent the last, well, at least 4 hours today, and I think 2 or 3 yesterday, kind of going through all of the character creation and stuff, trying originally to create a character completely myself, and then kind of diving into the logic of the puppets that were given to see how they did it, and moving forward from there. So there's some things I still don't understand, but I think that a character breakdown is sort of a fantastic idea at this point, because obviously I'm not the only one learning about things here. I think everybody else is too. Just trying to figure out how everything works, and obviously you can just take the wonderful puppet here over in gameplay, and you can just use that person entirely to create whatever you want. So that's totally fine. I would never judge you if you did that, and that's probably what I'll do eventually. But I wanted to spend the time trying to learn how to do everything, and as you can see by my very basic setup here, which has been manipulated multiple times, I have mostly resorted to using all my knowledge from Little Big Planet to try to create something, and well, basically all I can do so far is originally I could possess that guy, but I think I messed around with it a little bit too much, to the point where it's now flying off the screen. So let's try that one more time, just so I can actually, there you go. Alright, we're gonna possess you. So all I really managed to do is get this guy to move, and that's pretty simple, at least though I thought so, but it has been a bit difficult, so we'll get to that later, but that's not the focus of the episode. The focus of the episode today is to focus on this guy here, so let's bring him over here, or her, I guess you can't really tell, and so what I'm going to show you how to do today is to open the menu and kind of talk through a few things that I found out so far and that I haven't found out. So if you hold L1 and press X to basically zoom in, or I think it's called scoping in, on the puppet in particular, it goes through all of the grouped things that are together. Now obviously each piece of the puppet itself is an individual sculpture, so if you then hold L1 and press X again, you can zoom in on the individual parts of the sculpture, for example the torso, or I guess part of the torso, and then hold L1 and press circle to get out of it. That being said, I currently have it on show hide with X-ray mode turned on, which is how I'm able to see all the joints. Still kind of working on a video for those, so we'll talk about those eventually, but for now I just want to talk about this. So if there's anything that you've ever wanted to know about how this guy works, because just opening the logic of this is kind of useless, and opening the logic of this just gives you, oh, that's a connector of, yes, the puppet itself. So whether you're not scoped in or scoped in and you hit the bottom, you can open up this basic thing, which is all of these different sliders, but unfortunately it's kind of hard to take this and transition it over to your own character if you want to start entirely from scratch. So we're not going to look at that now, we're going to look at the puppet logic here. So if you hold L1 and press X, you can actually open up this, which you will realize is a circuit board. And so that's kind of how I've started with most of these explorations, is realizing that a lot of these different things are circuit boards. So if you open that one up, for example, then you can go through these different things and kind of see how the puppet itself works. So the controller logic, for example, is not just a controlinator, it's, or I guess a control sensor as they call it now. It's a combination of the health manager, the control sensor, and the puppet interface. So all of these things you can pull directly out of the menu, but if you've been getting confused about specific things like controller logic, or more likely if you've just been getting confused about this puppet logic thing, just take a look at the actual sensor itself, and if it has this little thing in the corner right here, you'll know that it's a circuit board and that you can open it up. So obviously this is going to be useful for future things. If I can get back up here, this will be useful for future things when you want to, for example, take someone else's creation and kind of modify it for yourself. So then for this one, this is just the sound effects, and so pulling out another puppet interface here, which again you can get from the gameplay section of the menu, it's attached to basically say whenever this is triggered anywhere else on the puppet, it will play these sound effects. So that's auto guide is mostly for creation, and then moving on from here is the jump animation. So this is just put separate from everything else, and using the character interface, or the puppet interface rather, it makes it much easier to show and keep like this separate from everything else. Showing here, I'm just going to show you the keyframes that exist for that animation, and again, like I said, it's a great way to keep it separate from everything, and it makes sense. I don't know if I would put it in a separate interface or a separate microchip like this, but you know, it's not really my choice. So moving on from there, we're going to go back to, we already just looked at that, so let's look at the run animation. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so here, there's a few things in here, but again, it's the same thing. It's a separate microchip specifically for the running animation, and so once you slap this in here, first you're going to see this very complicated signal manipulator, and this is largely what we used in the previous game or for Little Big Planet, and what they use here for creating the perfect jumping animation so that it looks like a normal jump. It's also incredibly useful for recreating jump animations, and this is one of the best tools if you actually want to recreate something like from Super Mario Brothers. Now, again, I'm new with this, so I understand the keyframes and I vaguely understand the signal manipulation, but I'm still getting there. This is more just to show you that all of this exists inside this puppet. It's just a bit harder to open for some reason. So then you can obviously store other things in here, like this is just all of the, oh hey, you finished the level, yay, the extra animations. Not necessarily needed inside the puppet, but hey, why not? I guess it's better to store all the different animations inside the same puppet, now that I think about it. But hey, you can also tell that when you edit these keyframes, and this is something I did before, but just going more in depth, when you edit a keyframe like that, you can see what it affects by what's highlighted. And also, this is the same issue we have with the microchips. Something like this is actually, where is it? There it is. So it's actually an exclusive gate, but it's retitled, so it's kind of hard to tell what it is. If anybody doesn't know how to find what the original thing used there was, please let me know, because I would love to be able to just trace everything back immediately. But yeah, so moving on, this is just the camera behavior. It says follow behavior, but it basically is what the camera does when you're not possessing the character, and then when you are possessing the character, and that's why this keyframe follow is actually, well, you could see it a second ago. I don't know why I can't see it now, but it would normally highlight both the character and the camera there, so that the camera stays in the same place relative to the character, depending on where the character is. So it's always keyed to stay right there, reference to the character. Yeah, so again, I know I'm not going to go super in depth on all of these things, like the different nodes, which is actually very helpful for organizing your microchips, but I won't get too excited about that now, because I still have a lot more work to do on learning about all of this stuff. This was just kind of a, hey everybody, yeah, you could find all of this inside of the puppet and check through it and modify it, far more than just the original menu. And they're all microchips is kind of like the motto of this entire video. But for the most part, I think it's just helpful to show all this, show that these are just simple microchips, and hopefully in the next video, or at least later this week, I'll figure out how all of this works, because I don't know where to find this menu or where to find this particular type of technology to use myself. Like this, but like, where do I find this other than on the puppet itself? I don't know. But it's also possible, and I was looking at this might be a custom menu which you can create with value sliders inside of a microchip, which I may get into. But for now, I'm just going to sign off here. If you do like this video, like I said, leave a like down below, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will be more into some fun creation with other people's characters that's a little less technical tomorrow. Alright, hope you're enjoying this week of dreams. I'll talk to you soon. Bye!